Four in the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom bada boom ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
What do you rate me?
Is that what we're starting out with?
Yeah.
I don't typically rate people. I ask if they rate themselves.
With average-looking women, off rip. If you do see them, they got their average-looking woman when they were both really young and he built his way up. But a man earning the kind of money you're talking about does not go for an average-looking woman.
I mean, my body is not average, so.
But ma'am, you please don't make me say it.
Say what? I really just wanted some advice. I love your.
I'm giving you advice, but you're not taking it. The advice is, ma'am, you're average looking at best.
I'm taking it in, but.
Okay, but you're not accepting the fact that, okay. Average looking women, average looking woman who's older, average looking older woman with a 13-year-old son, average looking woman with a 13-year-old son with a sketchy baby daddy. This gets worse every time I say something. And now you're asking for a man who's in the top 10% of men. You don't qualify for one.
Measures about group therapy. One was called corrective recapitulation. That's just a fancy way of saying I'm going to go back in my past and correct what was done to me. So now black men, in the former context of emoting, what they're doing now is saying, for so many years, you had the power to say what you wanted to say towards me. But now I got the mic and I'm going to say what I need to say. But you know what I find amazing, Obsidian? Many times we rate men that are handsome. When Barack Obama ran for president, they say he was fine, he was handsome. So anytime the rating is positive, it's not a problem. But when the rating is bad, then it's a problem. You see the dichotomy?
Right.
You can rate me if it's a positive rating, but if it's a negative rating, then you can't rate me. And that's a problem. That's a problem, I'm saying, because yeah, that's very schizoid. That's schizoid thinking. That's very schizoid in nature. And see, we live in a world now, I'm saying, where our women lack self-reflection. They lack self-introspection. And because of that, men are saying now, you know what, in the proper context, in the proper form, of more or less deliberating what I deem to be necessary, I'm going to deliberate it, and I'm going to deliberate it expeditiously. And because of that, some men they're not used to it. They're not used to hearing men speak. There's a young man by the name of Obi. He said that Kevin Samuels started the conversation. And now men have began to start the conversation. What Kevin was saying was nothing new. It was amplified because it was in YouTube and social media. These conversations have been had or been saying for a long time. All right, happy Thanksgiving to everyone on today. And I decided to do a show against my own better judgment. But this has been a show that's been dear to me. I had the opportunity to be on Obsidian Mumia Ali's channel. Go subscribe to his channel. And we were talking about the nebulous concept called rating. Is it okay for a man to rate a woman, or should a man only rate a woman in the context by which she rates him? It will appear that many times in modern America, some of our women have entitlement complexes where they can dish out rating scales associated with black men, calling black men lame, broke, small phallus, dusty, conquered, and all type of negative idioms. But synonymous to domestic violence, it appears to be one-way aggression. She can do it, but he can't do it. But we're going to use this show to think about, or more or less talk about the thinking errors associated with ratings. Can men rate women? In the proper context, I would say yes. And in the meantime, guys, get these likes up. Donate to the channel, please. Donate to Cash App $7 Smalls. And I'm going to limit this show with interruption as much as possible on this Thanksgiving Day. But I want you guys to let this one marinate and tell me if men should rate women. So let's get it. Hold tight.
That's what a lot. Listen, I'm a member of about a dozen Kevin Samuels forums, and I see it.
No, what I see is an argument, a disagreement. I've been over there in that craziness. And what is really happening is there's a bunch of back and forth that precedes the rating.
Okay. So tell us more about that.
So what's really happening is they're getting into dust-ups, into arguments, into back and forths with these men. And then when the man fires back, oh, well, you average at best. You a 3. And now they're upset.
Oh, I see. So this kind of goes back to what Miss Napa Shada was saying earlier, that you have sisters that are out here just kind of cutting the fool, and when the brother shoots back, now it's a problem. So you know what it is? You know what it is? You know what it reminds me of, everybody on the panel? It kind of reminds me of the domestic violence issue. Let me explain what I mean. So typically, domestic violence in general, but we're talking about the black community. Typically, domestic violence is black man is aggressor, black woman is victim, right? But shout out to Tommy Curry, Dr. Tommy Curry, I should say. Dr. Tommy Curry, author of the book, The Man Not. Shout out to Dr. Tiasan Johnson, the Black Manosphere's own, Cal State University, Fresno, New Black Masculinities. That's the name of his website. Those brothers and other intrepid black male scholars have determined that when domestic violence does occur, it is not a situation where the black man just haul off and slap the furniture out the black woman's mouth. And she just, no. What ends up happening is they're in mutual mortal combat. Okay, she's fighting him and he's fighting her. So a situation is going on where it's like, finish him, finish her, excellent. You know, that sort of thing. It's a mutual combat sort of deal. So you got Jason Bourne and you got Jennifer Bourne, and they're kind of going back and forth at it. So what's happening? What you're telling me, Pablo, is what you're observing in these Kevin Samuels forums on Facebook is that the brothers and the sisters are in mutual roasting mode.
Yeah.
And that brother does the ultimate, leg drop on this by calling it, you a 2. You ain't nothing but a 2 anyway.
Yeah, he do the Jimmy Superfly snooker off the top rope. You're a 3, yeah, and she is a 3, and then it hits, and it hits.
Oh my God!
Oh, so what do you ladies say about that? And then we'll go to the active activists, and then we'll get the cultural condition. What do you say about that, ladies? That this is the result. What's really going on here? Pablo's argument, so that we're clear. Pablo's argument is what's really going on here is that black men and black women are interacting on these internet forums, okay? Facebook being an example. And they're going back and forth. And then at one point in the interaction, the brother whips out the draw 4 Uno card by saying, you ain't nothing but average at best anyway. What do y'all say to that?
This is why I'm indifferent to it, because I see it all the time. I see it especially on Clubhouse, where the woman will come up on stage or she'll be in a chat and she'll just go in on a guy or saying disparaging things about men in general. And then, the men will start barking back, asking them, well, are you married? You single? You men don't want you. You're not attractive. You're not pretty. You're 4 but or at best and all the other stuff. And I'm just sitting there taking a step back and letting it happen, because I'm like, all right, you're gonna jump bad at a man, then you know this is on you. This is why I'm indifferent to it, because I also see it on in these Facebook communities or TikTok, where women are saying egregious things, or the conversation, the woman doesn't like what the man is saying, and he's not saying anything bad, he's just maybe saying, you know, when men don't want this, or you know, women should be more like this. And then all of a sudden she comes in with a, well, you know, you're how tall are you, and you're nobody cute, or your education level. And that draw for Uno card is to call her ugly, and some women they just can't handle it.
Yeah, I had to invoke that. I got to get me a Supreme King Coon, if you're listening. Supreme King Coon to the front office. Supreme King Coon to the front office. We need a thing that I could play up here where you know, a visual where a brother just whipping out that draw for Uno card. That's what I'm thinking of when Pablo's explaining the situation. And I'm getting the visual of the brother. You know, we've all played Uno. The brother get the visual of the brother that's got the Uno to draw for. You know how we do. You slap it down in there. I'll take that. You know what I mean? Go draw for, nigga. You know, that sort of thing. So I got to get me a visual of that. But anyway, let me thank my man Bill Will for the $10 cash app. $ Obsidian Radio. $ Obsidian Radio. And he says for keep on keeping on. Oh, yes, sir. That's exactly what we're going to do. Y'all keep those cash apps and PayPal's rolling in. By the way, I now have, as a result of the YouTube Politburo finally catching up with me, I now have over 100 new uploads over on Patreon. If you ever wanted to be a patron of the O-Man, now's the time to do it. Vintage Obsidian Podcast, a cornucopia of podcasts. I've uploaded like something like 120 of them over the weekend, and I'm continuing to add to them all the time as I get back into YouTube compliance. www.patreon.com/Mumia Obsidian Ali. I'd love to have you. Thank you for your support. Today's topic: Do modern men have a right to rate? RATE modern women. And a lot of lovely ladies say no, but other brothers say, hell yes, we have the God-given right to rate you and call you average at best, damn it. Okay, so let me go to my man, activist. He has something to say.
But I wanted to add you forgot to ask me.
Yeah.
I've seen both where there are men stalking women out of the blue. Yeah. I've experienced that. I don't even know them. There are some men out there who aren't mentally stable, and they can do some damage, and they have trolled women for no reason. And I've also seen what the sister said. So I've seen both. Just want to add that. So
yeah, okay. All right, let me get we're going to come back to the stalking piece, because that's a very good point. Active activists, go right ahead. You're on the air. Obsidian Radio doing this Thanksgiving holiday week. Question on the floor: do modern men have a right to rate, RATE, modern women? What say you?
Good morning, brother Obsidian. Hey. Good morning, rest of the panel. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to say, to answer the question, Sister Letitia and Brother Pablo hit it on the head. I've seen both. I'm one of the guys that Brother Pablo is talking about. And then, like the other sister just said, you know, as far as the men who just go out of their way just to rate women randomly, I've seen that, but very rarely. And yeah, there's some guys out here that are on their soapbox that want to just humble women and put them in their place, so to speak, and they feel empowered since the manosphere has come into the mainstream, especially after Brother Kevin Samuels, you know, had his message. But you know, it's to speak to what Sister Letitia said, that's basically what you're gonna see the most of the time. You can be having a conversation in a forum or wherever, talking about you know, black relationships and dating and who wants what, and normally the women who have something negative to say about men are the ones who get the draw for Uno slapped on them, because it's like, who are you? You know, and that's that draw for, don't they? Yeah, and that's what it is, because like even me, I don't come at women and just rate them off the rip, but you're in here talking all this hot mouth about what you can't get and what kind of man you want and this and that. Okay, well, what are you offering? Let's get into it. You want to get into the weeds? Let's get into the weeds. So that's really what it is the majority of the time. But hell yes, we have the right to rate women, because if we don't, how will they know where they rank and why they're getting the results that they're getting or not getting from the dating market? And it's like I have one example, right? So a lady, it was a lady, she was a hairdresser in Atlanta, right? And she was a bigger girl, and she wasn't hourglass, she was milk jug, as you say. And she had a meme on her Instagram that said, "Don't let a man treat you any less than he would treat Beyonce." And I wanted to make a comment. I wanted to comment so bad, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just let her have it, because she wasn't being, mean or saying anything, untoward to men or by black men in general. So I didn't say anything. But like that mentality right there of women want to be able to give themselves whatever rating they think they are. Oh, I'm as good as Beyonce. I'm as cute as Rihanna, Kelly Rowland, whoever. They want to say these things, but then when you ask, well, are you getting those results? And then you start breaking down to them why they're not that. That's when the problem comes.
Oh, I see. That's funny. Let me get the kosher clinician, because I know he's going to bring a interesting perspective on this. What's going on, brother? You have the floor. Question on the floor: do today's modern men have a right to rate, RATE, modern women? What say you, good sir?
Well, I would say succinctly, within the context of the conversation, yes, they do indeed have a right to rate women. Now, listen, I don't think the men should go and just berate women arbitrarily, but they do have the right to rate women. I'm gonna give you the point. As a licensed therapist, I talk about something called consent. I did a show called Love Without Consent. Can there be black love, Obsidian, without consent? For so long, we have not more or less taken the time to understand and hear the concerns of black men. Some of our women, not all, have always presumed and assumed that what they give a man is just enough. But they never got consent from black men on what black men wanted. And so when they begin to hear black men bellow their sentiments of disdain and also concern, then they have what's called a psychic break, because they can't handle it. They cannot handle it. And so watch this. Black love without consent is tied to this. Dr. William Glasser, a psychoanalytic therapist, theorist in the past, said that that needs drive behaviors, Obsidian.
Yeah.
And so black men for so many years have not had the need to express their concerns. Dr. Glasser said it was predicated on 4 or 5 correlating principles. Those 5 correlating principles were power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. What you're seeing now on display is it could be displaced aggression, but it could be black men saying, now we got power, because for so long we never had the power to emote or to admit our disdain or concerns. And so, synonymous or consistent with group therapy, what you're seeing now is what's called the universality of brotherhood, when men are coming together, sharing their stories and sharing their pain. But they're sharing their stories also by comparing the evidence. There was a contemporary theorist by the name of Yalom, and those were some of the measures about group therapy. One was called corrective recapitulation. That's just a fancy way of saying, I'm going to go back in my past and correct what was done to me. So now black men, in the former context of emoting, what they're doing now is saying, for so many years, you had the power to say what you wanted to say towards me. But now I got the mic and I'm going to say what I need to say. But what I find amazing, Obsidian, many times we rate men that are handsome. When Barack Obama ran for president, they say he was fine, he was handsome. So anytime the rating is positive, it's not a problem. But when the rating is bad, then it's a problem. You see the dichotomy?
Right.
You can rate me if it's a positive rating, but if it's a negative rating, then you can't rate me. And that's a problem. That's a problem, I'm saying, because that's very schizoid. That's schizoid thinking. That's very schizoid in nature. And see, we live in a world now, I'm saying, where our women lack self-reflection. They lack self-introspection. And because of that, men are saying now, what, in the proper context, in the proper form of more or less deliberating what I deem to be necessary, I'm going to deliberate it, and I'm going to deliberate it expeditiously. And because of that, so many they're not used to it. They're not used to hearing men speak. There's a young man by the name of Obi. He said that Kevin Samuels started the conversation. And now men have begun to start the conversation. What Kevin was saying was nothing new. It was amplified because it was in YouTube and social media. These conversations have been had or been saying for a long time. So you can't put yourself on display and then you berate men publicly and then expect men to be silent once you berate them publicly. Teddy Pendergrass said it better than me. He said, you can't hide from yourself. So you can't think you can go about debate or more or less debasing or berating black men and expect them to have a modicum of grace towards you. I think a lot of modern women now, like the young lady was saying, they have their own idiosyncrasies. They have their own pains and their own fears. And so when they begin to hear men begin to say succinctly how they feel and what they believe in, they can't handle it. Now, watch this. Within a proper context, whether it be formal or informal, within a formal context, like social media, of course a man got a right to berate a woman. But just going to a random woman arbitrarily and giving a woman a score, that's weird. I don't think men should be doing that. But anybody got a right to rate within the proper context and the proper form. Yeah. So yeah, I believe men definitely and succinctly do have the right to rate because men have needs too. And I was listening to something Pablo said, and he was correct. Yeah. Men get impacted through the mind. Many men have been the arbiters or more or less the recipients of rejection for a long period of time. There was a song back in the past of saying, said back then they didn't want me. Now that I'm hot, they all own me.
Oh yeah, Mike Jones.
Mike Jones said it. We all got, girls didn't show me love, back in the day, but now, 6'5", 6'6", I played ball, highly educated. Some of these same chicks now want to holler, but they big, ran through and overweight. and so I would never look at them, but see, it's like this, like Dr. T.S. Johnson talked about the aggression analysis when it comes down to domestic violence. It's bilateral. It's just not one-way aggression. It's bilateral. And so when it comes down to men saying what they want to say and what they believe in, what they want, many cannot internalize because so many simps have pacified women into their delusion. A lot of black men are not conditioned to stand in power and stand in strength. My mission as a licensed therapist and a content creator is to give men the power to not only think about the thinking errors that they are actually having concerning modern women, but to come in relationships with power. Because see, women only respect power and strength, Obsidian. They only respect power and strength. And there's an internal...
I know you're going on the road, and I want you to continue.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Do you honestly believe that black women in particular just do not respect anything other than power and strength in the man? Do you really believe that?
I think in general, yes. I think all women in general only respect power and strength unless they have been socialized, Obsidian, to do to the contrary. One of the things. What
about this? What about this? What about
yes, sir,
black women respecting honesty? Black women respecting kindness. Black women respecting character. Black men respecting courage. Black women respecting intellectual curiosity. I never hear when we have these conversations, and this is no knock on you, Doc. I'm not saying this is your fault.
Right.
What I'm saying is that a lot of times when we have these conversations about what black women do and don't respect, I often hear either black men or black women saying black women respect black men with power. Fair enough, but I never hear anybody say black women respect black men of intellectual curiosity, black men of a certain cultural sensitivity, black men that have a dry or sardonic wit. It's always power, like the power to your ass, the power to make you submit, the power, that sort of thing.
Right. Well, watch this, Obsidian. What you're saying has merit, has a lot of merit, to say the least. But let me qualify it. Power and strength are the two things, in my opinion, are the main elements. Everything else are substrates. I'm not saying that they don't want some of the things that you talked about. I'm not saying that's not important. But I look at things I'm saying through the lens of theology. The gospel said that she would have a desire for her husband and he would rule over her. And ruling over her does not mean to abuse power, but it means to keep her in line with your mission as a man. So those things that you're talking about, yes, they do have merit. Yes, they do have merit. But the modus operandi is power and strength. Listen, it's part of her genetic blueprint, in my opinion. I think it's part of genetic predisposition. When it comes down to height, women have a lot of women, not all, but many women have a love for tall masculine men, or
you better believe it, black
right,
women.
right. They have right. So even when I played ball in high school, man, you know, they wanted the tall men. But see, height alone does not make you masculine towards a woman. You can be tall and be a goofball. So height alone is not the evidence. But if you're a tall masculine man, you speak well, you stand firm in your convictions, you don't waver in your convictions. It's part of her biological imperative, but also genetic predisposition. So everything you talked about are what I call substrates. They're substrates. But but those two elements that I talked about, power and strength, like I said, ties in to not only theology, in my opinion, but it's part of her biology. Women want power. They want a man that's powerful, because a lot of times tall men is based on the illusion of power. But being tall don't always mean that you're a powerful man. That's why a man can be smaller in stature and still be a powerful man. Adolf Hitler was small in stature, but he was a powerful man.
So, I don't know if you want to use him as the standard pair-brush short
right. But you know what I'm saying. You know, so they only respect power and strength. That's why when men go into relationships, not being empowered and knowing what their worth is and their rights, over time, those women either lose respect for them or they will tolerate them until they get rid of them. So I tell men to come into a relationship, one, understanding their inherent worth as a man, but also giving instructions and setting boundaries, because I believe men should love their women, die for their women, and protect their women. But I don't think it's free. Too many men have given those things away for free, which in essence doesn't make women respect them as men. Relationships are binary. In the clinical world, we call it behavior modification. And so with behavior modification, there's positive reinforcement, there's negative reinforcement. Too many men, in my opinion, in modern America have positively reinforced bad behavior. When you tell women that are subpar in looks, that she's beautiful, she's a queen, you're reinforcing bad behavior. But see, if a woman that's critiquing a man and you don't say anything and you don't check that bad behavior, then she thinks she's better than what she really is. And that's what I call narcissism. It's that narcissistic supply. That's why a lot of times modern women get upset with men when they correct them, because she needs a supply man. She's not used to men telling them how they really feel. That's why women go through what's called an existentialist crisis upsetting when they come into these male spaces, because they've never heard what men really feel. And so when they hear it, they be like, DAM. I always thought I was sugar, honey, iced tea. But when they begin to hear men say what they really mean and what they really demand and believe in, they get a schema affliction because they never heard it. They're like, wow, men really feel that way. And then they turn around and use displaced aggression and say, well, your mom is black, you was raised by a black woman, which ain't got a damn thing to do with the conversation. You know, I'm not talking about my mom, I'm talking about you. Yeah. And they can't handle it, man. And so that's why these conversations are important. That's why Kevin has so much vitriol, because women never heard men say what they really mean. And I blame that partially on men. If a woman's gonna be in my life, listen, I'm gonna love her, I treat her good, but I'm gonna tell her what I want, and she can either comply or she can go. It's literally that simple. I don't play around in pussyfoot. I say what I mean what I say. Either you can fall in line or you're not. I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm just gonna release you and let you go. I'm gonna cast you to the wind.
I got to get the ladies a response on that one. Ladies, what do you, and by the way, if there are any other ladies out there that want to join us on this Thanksgiving holiday week here, hit the link to come right on up. Ladies, you have anything to say to what the brother, the kosher clinician just laid down there, especially toward the end? I say what I mean, and I mean what I say, and if you don't fall in line, there's the door. What do you say to that?
Well, I agree with that. I believe in submission for women, as far as women go. You know, I'm a sub traditionally, and in my marriage, my husband's a dom, so I believe in that.
Miss Letitia, where do you fall on all that? Do you agree with that, or where are you at with that?
Do I agree that men should have should have boundaries with women? Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I think
she's like, yeah.
The reason why we're in this predicament is because men have catered and pandered to women too much. They've pulled back too much. And I think rating women isn't going to fix the problem. It's men setting a standard for themselves and enacting boundaries and consequences for poor behavior. That's what's going on.
And shout out to Letitia. I know Letitia. Letitia, The beautiful Letitia, we both started on this sojourn when I started the Manhood Chronicles about 2 years ago.
Wait, do I know you?
Yeah, come on, Letitia. You know, I'm 6. I mean, Ted, you and I, Ted Santos. Yeah. We started about 2 years ago. The Manhood Chronicles on Facebook, and now my channel is doing fairly well. It needs to get bigger, but yeah, you definitely know me. You were a mainstay a couple of times on my show with Blair Nash.
I remember.
Right. It's been a minute. How are you doing?
And kosher clinician, my fellow Eagle alumni of North Carolina.
No doubt, Eagle Pride.
I got a question for you, and it's
yes, sir.
Maybe not related, but how do you, as a certified clinician,
yes, sir,
straddle the line? Because we saw what happened with the black young lady who was a therapist, you as a licensed therapist.
Yes, sir.
How do you straddle the line on giving commentary and separating your personal opinion and professional advice? Am I putting that in the right lane?
Yeah. No. You're correct. Yeah, it's a struggle. But listen, I always tell people when it comes down to getting that work, I said I go do what's called a disassociation moment. I turn to the guy called Moon Knight. You know, Moon Knight started to disassociate, the comic book character. I disassociate when it comes down to something that's true to my heart. I strive to stay within the contextual framework of therapy, but this is edutainment for me. But I always give, how can I say it, therapeutic parameters around any discussion that I'm having. Yeah. I try feverishly to add therapeutic concepts to the discussion. But I don't always talk through the therapeutic milieu of being a therapist. I'm talking as a man. I'm a man advocate. I'm a male advocate. And part of that male advocacy is speaking truth to power, using clinical concepts to help men understand what they need. I've said before, Pablo, in the past, that there are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become optimized. And those 7 steps are faith, family, female psychology, finances, politics, male mental health, and world travel. Once a man can succinctly understand how all those dynamics interplay with his mental well-being, he will become not only optimized, but he will become kosher in thought, because 7 in the Hebrew means to be complete. And that's why I always say, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. Once men can understand those 7 correlating principles, then he becomes optimized as a man. So, I try to keep it kosher when I'm having a conversation, pun intended, no pun intended. But I don't always keep it that way. Sometimes I just talk as a man, because that's why I did what I did, because it is a synthetic barbershop where men come together to share their stories and to share their pain.
But you balance that with the professional very well. You always.
Yes, appreciate it, brother. Yes.
Yeah, yes, he does. It's 59 minutes past the hour. You're listening to Obsidian Radio. We got off to a late start this morning, but I'm glad that we did. We're joined by the lovely Miss Napa Shada and Miss Letitia Underwood. Question on the floor: do modern men have a right to rate, RATE, modern women? We're joined with a panel of callers here, and if you want to join the panel, it's in the chat room. Let me get my man Brandon. Brandon, you're on the air. Obsidian Radio. Go right ahead. Question on the floor: do modern men have a right to rate, RATE, modern women? What say you?
I once again, Obsidian, thank you for having me up, and a big shout out to everybody on the panel. I personally think that that men in general do, because I'm of the thought of, and I think I've heard it echoed on this show too, that women have the right to, I guess, rank or rate us as protectors and providers. So if we can be ranked or rated as protectors and providers, and then I guess vice versa on the flip side of that is that we can say, hey, I don't want to protect and provide for the woman that weighs 240. I want a woman that weighs 135. So in that train of thought, yes, we have all the right to rate them. Now, to echo what some of the other people said on the panel, to just go up and just be randomly ranking women that you don't know in their face, it's like, hey, you're a 3, or hey, you're a 5, or whatever the case may be. That's kind of disrespectful and weird. as the culture clinician said. It's weird. It's really weird.
And, you know, it was interesting. I'm glad you said that, Brandon. You and the cultural clinician, because y'all kind of backed up what Pablo said. Pablo offered a really interesting twist on this issue that I have heard black women, you know, Nicki Minaj is among them, and black women that are more private citizens that aren't famous like she is, all saying that since Kevin has come along, black men have been out here just rating these women. But Pablo said something very interesting. He said what he's observed as a fly on the wall is that what would happen is that the men and the women in the black American social media spaces would be having an interaction. They would be going back and forth with each other, kind of insulting each other. And then the black man would do the ultimate knee drop move, leg drop move on him, or come off the top rope, as Pablo said, with the draw 4 card and say, well, you just a 2 or you're average at best, or so on and so forth. And then that's when the black women would get upset.
Well, I stay away from that. I stay away from that. That happens. And I think where that comes from is that, because I know I do it all the time. Not that particular, but you see a woman that is she has a lot to say about whatever the case may be. And I think one of the young ladies alluded to it, that a man will get on there and tell a woman is not that good looking, that she is, you know, a beautiful queen, and empower her. And then she'll get on. But I'm kind of like, I'm of the mind where, hey, like, listen, I haven't been doing it before. I'm not going to do it now. Like, you know, like, I don't have to tell you that you want attractive. It don't make me feel no better or no worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, it isn't going to affect me either way. But a lot of times, it's because a lot of men hold back. I put a post on Facebook one time, and I was just like, you know, if men started telling the truth about how women really look, we would lose all of our female friends on your Facebook feed, because a man would just call any woman a beautiful queen, you know, for any reason, and you know, whether she's extremely attractive or not, and that empowers them, and that's okay. But what happens is the women, they take that and they run with it, and they will say all kinds of mean, vile things to you, you know, with that, you know, using that as ammunition. That confidence is ammunition. There's nothing wrong with confidence. But I guess a lot of men have feel like they were empowered by Kevin to be just as mean, and a lot of those guys are not. They may be telling the truth, they may not, but a lot of those guys are just trying to be mean, right? Because, you know, they maybe not to a woman that hurt them in the past, but maybe that woman there might have said something about him being broke, or you see what I'm saying? And maybe in real life she don't know, but maybe he is broke and he feeling some kind of way about it, right? So then he fires back off at him, at her with that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, I try to stay away from it, because, you know, I just, you know, I do me, man. I just, you know, try to work hard to be the best man I can be. That's all.
Gotcha. This is wild. So yeah, I'm thinking that a lot of ladies are going after guys. I think Pablo is making a point here. I think that a lot of ladies are going after guys, just, you know, off the top rope with it, and then when the guys fire back, then it's a problem. I think that's a detail. That's a very important detail. That was, now I'm not imputing motive here. I'm not saying it was done deliberately. For whatever reason, that was a detail that was not unearthed. So I want to thank Pablo for that. Pablo, you want to add anything to that?
Nah, man, you pretty much got it.
Okay, so like I said, the 3 things that I think that we can get here is, I think that it's fair if a lady is a public figure. I think it is fair if you're a public figure, you're coming before the public, you're particularly outspoken with regard to black female, black male relationships and social dynamics. Yeah, I think that that's fair game. I think that if a black woman posts something on her public profile, Facebook, Instagram, yeah, I think that's fair game. Things along that line, I think that, yeah, you can do something like that. Miss Napa Shada said that there should be a fine line. There's, you know, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate to say. Not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Let me ask, yeah, go ahead, Miss Napa. You want to say something?
Well, I mean, again, this is my personal experience. When it comes to my looks, I don't have, I'm not a gentle wilting flower when it comes to being criticized. So I mean, I've had some really harsh trolling, not a lot, but like just of people will be like, not even about ugly, but like sexual stuff. And
so they're not calling you a dog or a hippo or a pig. They're saying that the things that they would like to do.
Yeah, and so it's still offensive. So right. If I take that into a woman who, again, she's in the public light, she's in the limelight, so she put herself out there. That doesn't mean that she has to be beaten up. So like if she is overweight, like let's take Oprah, perfect example. We know Oprah has an issue. She's been struggling with her weight. She has developed, tough skin on the exterior and in front of the camera, but we see her struggle, and so we know that it must be somehow it has affected her because she's tried to lose weight. So when people are mean about it for no reason, just because they might not like her talking points, why don't you just die, you fat hog, and oh, look at this fat hippo coming down. That's immature. But if somebody's on the comment board, Oprah, that double chin is getting, a little bigger. Better get it together.
Right.
Oprah, put that sandwich down. Right. That's it. For me, that's my opinion.
Well, let me ask the panel this. And by the way, if anybody wants to join our conversation, the link is in the chat room. Feel free. CBP. And you should have put this in the Cash App, brother. I'm going to hold that against you till next time. You owe me a Cash App. He says, what is appropriate and not appropriate for women to say about men? Because a man can be judged publicly on everything. Now, I'm of two minds of that question, but I think he does make a point here. If we're saying that there's a line here, there's a water's edge with regard to what you can say about a woman's public persona or public presentation. There's a line here. Okay. Why don't we say the same thing about men?
Well, can I say this too? I don't want to take up too much, but I feel like compelled to mention this. Yeah. Women, the minute that a man may strike a chord and a woman in her heart knows he's right, and I'm not talking about looks, like he might say, well, why do you have 3 baby daddies?
Right. They
instantly go to, well, how tall are you?
Right.
So
I had a woman recently ask me, Miss Letitia knows about this. I had a woman recently ask me about how much money I made and could she see my tax returns? And so I responded by saying, yes, I can see it. You can see my tax returns. If I can see what you're working with, I want to, see what your birth canal look like. But turn around and bend over and crack a smile. She was, oh my God, how could you say that? And Miss Letitia responded by saying, she's right here. She responded by saying, listen, this is the reason why I do not ask men about their money. I do not ask men how much money they make. I do not ask men, can I see their bank statements? I don't ask men, can I see their tax return? Because they're going to turn right around and say what you just got finished hearing. And you know something? My lady, Miss Brown Sugar, said the exact same thing. She said, I don't know why that woman on Clubhouse would say to you, most of all people. Why would she say something like that to you? Because she said the same thing that Miss Letitia said. She said, as a general rule, you don't ask men questions like that you don't know, y'all not already, involved in a marriage or a relationship. That's different. But when you don't know the guy, you don't ask a man like that off the rip, something like that. She said the exact same thing that Miss Letitia said. Yeah, that so-and-so asked me how much money did I make, and she need to see my tax return. I said, I need to see up your birth canal. Turn around, bend over, and crack a smile. And she wanted to clutch her pearls all of a sudden.
But then the same woman will go on Instagram and do the actual bend over and show, I'm sorry to sound vulgar, but some of the meat from the sandwich is out.
Yeah.
And so it's weird. Like, yeah, something you do. I mean, we can dish it out as women, but we can't take it. That doesn't mean that anyone, male or female, should be abused. But women, and that's not just Black women, that's women across the board. We, you want to slap a man in the face, and, but then when he might be that type of guy who slap you back and pay you back what you give him, then you want to say, oh my God, I can't believe he hit me. Well, you hit him.
Yeah, that was gold. That was classic. And that now that I think about it, I hadn't thought about this before, but now that I'm talking about it, fellas, I think that is purely appropriate. What happened to me over in Letitia's clubhouse about a week and a half ago, something like that. That's perfectly appropriate. If a woman come at you talking about, you a scrub or you this, you that, yeah, you have like Pablo was saying earlier, you have every right to come off the top rope on them.
Right.
You have every right to do it. Or in my case with that lady asking me how much money I make, she want to see my tax return. I want to see what your birth canal look like. Let me see what your service look like.
Right. But that goes back
in that instance, yeah, you have every right to respond like that. Hell yeah.
Right. I agree. Right. That goes back to the Black love without consent, Obsidian. We always postulate we want Black love, but we never consider with Black men what they want. And I agree with you 1,000%. It's no fun until the rabbit get the gun. It's no fun. So when Black men use the gun to speak their truth or to speak the truth, then all of a sudden it's a problem. And so yeah, for a woman to ask you how much money you make, that could be very offensive to a man. Men have been so conditioned to just understand it and hear. We don't really say anything. But if a man said, how much do you weigh? If you've been ran through or whatever, then all of a sudden it's a problem. and that's the hypocrisy, man. That's the hypocrisy, man. Yeah.
So then, it's back to the grapevine that people were upset. Women were upset with me because I didn't protect her. I'm like, protect her for what? She didn't need protecting. She came up she took the gloves off, so she obviously knew what she was doing. It's the same on the reverse side, right? There is a room on Clubhouse called the Terror Dome, ran by my good friend Vern, Chemical X. He's known as Kyle Minerva in on YouTube. Well, he does do the rating. As soon as the women come into the room, how tall are you? What's your dress size? How many kids do you have? And how many baby daddies? And then on the men, he asks, how tall are you? How much do you make? What do you do? Blah, 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 right? It becomes a very toxic club. And I tell the women, I said, look, if you cannot handle this, then you don't need to be in there. If you can't, and the men, they do not allow for women to just come up and talk to them and say anything about men. So if
they're probably drawn to it like a moth to the flame.
They are. So if you go in that room and you start talking crazy about men, then you need to understand what's going to come at you, because as soon as you talk about they're dusty, they're going to go in. They're going to come at you. They're going to hit heavy. They're not going to hold any punches. So that's a standing rule. That's something I told my daughter. That's something I tell young women all the time. Be mindful of trying to use shade to try to combat with men, because it rarely works in our favor. Whereas women play this little game of being coy and think they're being cute about it. When men play the game, it's not about being cute. At that point, all gloves are off and they're trying to annihilate you. That's how they engage with men. So at that point, you stop being a woman and you just start being fair game. And that's when the gloves come off. So
and you got to understand something. Guys sit around and what we call here in Philly, bust on each other. Now, elsewhere, they call it roasting, toasting, capping. But here in Philly, we call it busting. Do these ladies realize, like also on Clubhouse, do these ladies realize I am a stone cold veteran of the busting wars? When I was a kid growing up, we would sit in the basement. We would pick somebody's house. It would be a group of us buddies, 5 or 6 of us. We would pick a house to go to. We go down in the basement, the man cave. We go down in the basement and just start busting on each other for the next 3 or 4 hours straight. It was the Terror Dome.
This is why I never hung around my male cousins, because that's what they did. I learned very early on, I don't have the skin for it. Like I tell you all the time, Obsidian, I don't have the skin for certain things. So I know that if I can't take it, it's best not to dish it. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the reason why I got really good at it. Go ahead.
So how this usually manifests itself when black men kind of say what they want, what they need and like, and the woman doesn't meet it. Typically, it'll be met with, "Oh, you gay. Oh, you must be gay."
You gay.
Yeah. So that's the typical retort. So instead of giving men a number, "Oh, you a 3," they'll say, "Oh, you gay."
Well, I have heard black women in more recent times use the number thing, but usually, here's what it is. Usually, what they do is they try to put it back on you as a guy. So they say, "Well, you nothing but a 2 or whatever," but it doesn't work the same. It just doesn't work the same. But of course, they try to use the small peen, gay. Then they're going to call you a 4 or 3 or whatever. It just doesn't work the same thing. You're broke, and that only those things only apply if it's true. But if you actually got money. This is what I've learned as a short, non-select, blue-collar, gimpy guy. If you got money, it doesn't matter. Because all you got to do is just say, "I'm rich, bitch!" That's all you got to say. And it works every time. It just shuts them down every time. It doesn't matter. I'm rich.
Hey, Obsidian, I want to jump in real quick. So to what you and the brother, the therapist brother said, quick sidebar, but talking about what do black women respect, right? So it's the tingle, it's the looks, the physical appeal of a man, and the provision and the power. Those are the first 3 things that they respect or that they say they want. And I had dropped a video the other day, talking about this issue and black women and their attitude, and that being the main thing they should work on even more than their looks. And the women come in the comments, with the typical sign language. "Oh, well, what do men need to work on? Oh, you saying this, who are you to tell women this and that and blah, blah, blah. And well, if it wasn't so many gay men, this and that." And it's like somebody, or one of the women brought up, character, and it's go to what you were talking about, the intellectual aspects of a man and the other things outside of his power and his finances, etc., that can be masculine or appealing. They think about that stuff after the fact. If you don't meet the first 3, then they don't care about the rest of that. If you don't make them tingle, if you don't have the wealth and can't provide the lifestyle, then your character doesn't matter. Because I'm like, there's a lot of guys out here, as we said the other day, with the 75,000 being the magic number. There's a lot of good guys out here that have those other masculine qualities that y'all want, but they won't look at those men because they don't make a certain dollar amount. So
I'm glad you brought that back. I want to get back to that, but first I want to thank Luke Casely for the $15 cash app, and she writes, I want to get her message because I want to make sure that I got her message, and I want to read it out there. She says, "Men can rate women, especially when they're looking for a mate." I want to put this up on the board. My man CBP in the building with the $10 cash app. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for that. He says, "For the church." Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for that. I accept. And oh boy, you know what it is. My man Brandon in the building with the $100 cash app.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
That's what it is. He said, "You already know what it is." Indeed, I do. Matter of fact, Brandon, I got something for you, man, because I meant to send your book out and I completely forgot about it. So I got 2 books coming out to you, man. I got the black book and the red book. I got a black book lying around here. I'm going to send it to you, brother. I owe you a black book along with the red book, man. Thank you so much for your support. I want to get in on this $75,000 question. I know that wasn't part of the docket, but we have ladies here, and I want to get their opinion on that. So let me bring in my man Demetrius in here and get his opinion on the question on the floor today. Question on the floor. Do modern men have a God-given right to rate, R-A-T-E, modern women? What say you, Demetrius? Go right ahead. You're on the air. Oh, wait a minute. I have to add them to the stream. My bad. My fault. Go right ahead. You're on the air.
Okay. Yeah. So I think brothers have a right to. It's already been said in regards to a time and a place. Again, I don't think brothers should just be walking up on women and weaponizing it. Meaning, like, if a woman don't give you her number, you say, well, you want number the 7 anyway. and walk off. I don't think brothers should do it like that. But I think again within context, within certain arenas, I think we have the right to, especially like I think someone just said, as far as when you're dating, the sister that just put up the cash out, when you're dating, you definitely have the right to rate. We rate hotels, we rate restaurants, we rate cars. We do that. It's a rating for a reason, to give you an idea on where a person is. The difference with men and women, we just use the numbers. Women go more into detail. They'll say exactly, he has straight teeth. He has green eyes. Well, he don't have no hair, but he got a nice little bald head. His head shaped right. They go into specifics about men. Men just kind of do a roundabout. Yeah, she a 7. She nice. Nice little shape on her. About a 7. She decent. We don't really get deep into the details of her mouth, her teeth. Is she not needed? We don't really
want to know if the mouth look right or the mouth don't look right, because we're looking to see if something can happen there.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying like the teeth. I'm saying your dental work.
Well, that's important but that's important for reasons that we don't want to get into on the air. But in any event, we get your point. The ladies go into great detail, whereas the guys kind of do a roundabout type of thing. We got that.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's all I wanted to add.
Let me ask you this though. What do you make of this $75,000? Now, Miss Letitia knows about this because she actually, interestingly enough, she did a poll about this on her Instagram, so she knows already. But Miss Napa Shadar, were you aware of the fact that and I know you've heard about, and Kevin kind of led this conversation. We're picking up where our good brother left off. All right, so the question on the floor was, how much does the modern black woman submission cost? A lot of brothers want black women to submit to them and defer to their leadership and their manliness and stroke their ego and so on and so forth. And a lot of black women, I ain't doing that. You a broke dusty and so on and so forth. So we got into a position now where we can quantify what the magic number is. How much money does a black man need to have in a year's time of earnings and so forth and profits in order to get the rank and file black woman to submit to him? And we've determined that number is $75,000. Now I feel like Dr. Evil. $1 million. So yeah, $75,000. And the reason why was because we determined that many black women rely directly or indirectly on some aspect of the welfare state, some for Section 8, some for WIC, some for daycare, some for college, to go to college or college debt relief. They're fighting that out right now in Washington. So you get the idea, affirmative action, so on and so forth. So bottom line is, in order for a black man to beat Uncle Sam, it's going to cost him about $75,000 and up. So, okay, $75,000. What do you think of that? Do you think that will be sufficient for most black women? You're not saying all, but most black women to submit to a black man? $75,000.
Are you asking? Should I jump in?
Yes, please.
75,000. How'd you guys come up with that number? First off,
well, like I said, we calculated, and a shout out to my man Chris Hutchinson. He's a STEM guy, and he works with numbers and programming and all that all the time. IT guy, and we determined this number on a number of factors. Shout out to BGS Ibmore. The rank and file black woman will receive around $70,000 of state benefits of one form or another. State assistance. I'm not saying all black women are on EBT. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, when you look at school loans, Sally Mae and all that sort of thing, when you look at all of those, health benefits, all that sort of thing. When you add it all up, it's about $70,000 in a year, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for a black man to beat that, we calculated you're going to need about $75,000. Okay. So we are asking, will black women submit to a brother that's making a bare minimum of $75,000 a year?
Okay, I am listening. I just wanted to clarify. So, I mean, that's so general. It depends on the woman. You know, there are teenagers out there in relationships who have
No, we're not
girlfriends.
talking about we're not talking about no.
Okay, then let me just say realistically,
Yeah.
$30,000.
How about this? How about this? Black women 30 and up. How about that? Fair enough. Black women 30 and up.
Okay, great. 30 and up. I mean, American Black women, possibly, but if we're talking about Caribbean and worldwide,
You're telling me that Black women. You're telling me that today's modern Black woman 30 and up. You're saying it's possible that a Black man that's making $75,000 a year or more, it's possible that she might submit. That's possible.
No, I'm actually saying it could be less. It could be less because he can find a woman who isn't, doesn't require that much, possibly. It's about what she needs and what he can provide. Now I get it. That's the number you guys came up with, but let's say she is from the DR. She's going to not probably need him to make $75,000 for her to submit to him, or from some unindustrialized country.
Yeah, but we're talking about Black women in the United States. You keep going back to offshoring.
Okay, then United States. Then United States.
Women in the ADOS, FBA.
No, she won't. She might still
women, that sort of thing. We're talking about Black women in the United States with a rank and file Black woman 30 and up submit to a Black man that's making $75K or better, yay or nay?
No, I don't think she will submit to a man making $75K because there's more than just the money.
And thus the passport bros exist. And along came the passport.
I hear the coach commission in the background. I want to get a piece of this. Come on, fellas. Come on in.
Well, wait a minute. Let me get my whole thought out, okay?
That's a damn shame.
This is what I'm saying. Like this is why it's not, men aren't just leaving America because the women look the same in a lot of these places when they go to these other places. It's because 75,000, she still might not in America. You know what I'm saying? She will he can take care of her, but if she doesn't have a submissive mindset, or if she doesn't, when I say submissive, ladies, I'm not saying you have to be a doormat. You have to know who's the boss. You may not always follow the rules, but you know who's in charge. Just like in a parent-child relationship, a child doesn't always obey, but a child knows the parents are in charge. So they typically try to stay in line. So it's hard for a westernized woman to submit, even if he's making $100,000 a year. There are men who are making, I know, that are making 6 figures, and their wives run them.
Right.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
And Obsidian.
See this crazy.
Obsidian. This is why the passport bros are garnering so much attention, traction, and following on social media. Because what we've found and what we've discovered is that relationships abroad are so much less complicated. It's just less complicated. She's saying, oh, you can have $75,000 and it might. You can have $100,000 and it might. There's no might when I'm in Colombia or Dominican Republic or Philippines. There ain't no might.
Damn that. Ain't no might in Colombia. Ain't no might in Medellin, goddamn.
It's going all the way down. And however I want it to go.
This the crazy thing,
why?
right?
Let me tell you why. Because Americanized, westernized women have more opportunities, and they've been afforded more opportunities. When a woman is humbled down, then she submits. When a woman
hang on. Hold it. Pablo, you are world traveled. Kosher clinician, you are world traveled. There are brothers in the chat room that world travel. Okay, So let's get something straight here. Do I have this right? We're going to use Cartagena because Cartagena is a city in Colombia. It's known to have a higher than average black population, has a long history and so forth. So we'll use that, okay? So we can do a 1-to-1. Black women in the United States, black women in Colombia, okay? All right. Pablo, are the rank and file black women in Cartagena walking around barefoot, looking like something out of Ethiopia? No disrespect.
No, I've been there. You don't have to ask him. I've actually been there. No, they're not. That's not the point. But it still is Colombia, and we do know the state of the entire place itself. I'm not talking. The women look beautiful. They're taking care of themselves in these countries. That's not what I'm saying. When I say humbled down, they know the state of their environment. They know what their opportunities are. So they are in reality okay. I know
the social safety nets and protections aren't there. The same economic opportunities aren't as plentiful. Not to say that there aren't successful women there are, but the median, the rank and file, the median level is different. Yes.
And that is the point. That's exactly, if we hold on there, if we stay right there, this is the key. When women see, wait a minute, the men are the ones that I have to look to for my livelihood, then they get it together. And the ironic thing, these women look better. They take care of themselves more. They look better in these countries. It's phenomenal.
Because guess what? All of that stress of worrying about having to keep up with a bunch of men at work is gone. The cortisol levels plummet.
See, this the thing. This what I think about it, oh man. Like we had this conversation a few weeks back, but like the concept, and I call it tribal or indigenous hypergamy, right? Okay. And with our American black women being the women who quote unquote refuse to settle the most, right? So when I talk about tribal hypergamy, like I say, we take it back to old school tribes, indigenous people living in the wilderness, etc. Yes, those women in those tribes would hope to be with the prince or the chief or the chief's son or whatever, and mate their way into the upper echelon of the power structure. Of course, they can all have that hope, but they knew that they weren't all going to get it, and they were okay with that. If the best woman won, cool, and they were okay with getting their average guy in the kingdom, the tribe, etc. Our women refuse to do that. It's like they look at Lois Lane and say, "Oh, she got Superman. Well, I want Superman too." And if I can't have a Superman, then I'm just gonna complain and say every man that ain't Superman ain't worth shit. So, when it's 75,000, when 75,000 can't even get you submission, and Brother Kevin and other people have proven this beyond a shadow of a doubt. Women are saying that no, that's not enough, even though that puts you in the top 20% or 15% of earners.
So that we're clear, 75,000, and we got Chris here. He's the number cruncher. He's the official number cruncher of Obsidian Radio here. Tech guy, I know him well. Father, husband, former military guy, STEM guy, businessman. He's put other black businessmen on. He's helped other black men in business, doing very well for himself. He's crunched the numbers. He's confirmed what BGS Itmore said. The black manosphere, once again, the sharp end of the spear on all this. Now, my thinking is this. I'm with you, activist, and I love to get the kosher clinician on this. My thinking is this. No disrespect to Ms. Napa Shaddah. This is nothing personal. But my thinking is this. Okay. If we know, according to blackdemographics.com, that the rank and file black man is making about 42 grand a year. We know that's true. And we know that black women find that insufficient for submission, cooperation, so on and so forth. Okay, we got that. All right. And we know that the rank and file black woman gets state assistance from the government to the tune of roughly $70,000 a year. If we know that's true, okay. All right. if $75,000 doesn't get the black woman's submission, well, God damn it, what does get her submission? You're looking at 13% of black men in the country who can make 75 grand or more a year. 13%, according to blackdemographics.com. If that don't do it, then what does do it? That's my question.
Million dollar man status and fame. That's why you see people like these celebrities, women, you know, a bunch of women on their arm. If a woman, this is the sad part, when a woman knows that she's expendable, she gets into line.
Right.
That's
what
happened.
Right. That's what I was about to say. You do nothing, Obsidian. But you know what, Obsidian, you know, I found something very baffling. I was in Brazil twice. I was in the movie Frustrated 3 with Al Grease, and thank you for the conversation. But you know, when I was on your show the last time, I talked about we may need to start making it prorated. If a woman say you got to make 75, okay, so men say, well, fine. How many bodies do you have? Because see, watch this, Obsidian. Watch this. Back in the past, what a man got for hard work, he got a wife-ready woman. He got a woman that was a virgin. He got a woman that had no kids. So it was fair exchange. Fair exchange is no robbery. So if you're gonna make 75, then that man said, okay, fine. You better make sure you be under 5 bodies. And so we're gonna prorate it based on how many bodies you got, because men are the gatekeepers to relationships, and they're the gatekeepers to sex. That's what men look for many times in wives. But men have been so conditioned, Obsidian, now because of relationship inflation, just to take damn anything. And so what it does, like the young lady was saying, she's correct. You can make $100,000, they won't submit. Ask Russell Wilson, he's a millionaire, and she won't damn submit. So it's nothing you can do to make the modern woman submit, because she is an egomaniac. She's entitled to think she's better than you, and she's not better than you. Russell Wilson could have went overseas and got a woman superior to Sierra. Did they have any kids and perhaps no bodies if he got it from the countryside? But men got hard-working men. You got 33% of men that are virgins. Those men, are they going to get a virgin? No, they're not going to get virgins. 9 times out of 10 to 33% of men are virgins that are in IT, going to probably get women that's had kids by other men, or had a lot of sexual partners that have been ran through. So what is he getting in return? So, okay, if I got to make 75, you got to be under, your rate ratio got to be a certain way. Your damn body's got to be under 5 to a virgin. And we're going to prorate it based on your bodies, how many bodies you had. Yeah, you got to prorate it. You got to prorate, because see what it is, I'm saying, it's taxation without representation. And that's called the commodification of subjugation. Basically, you're just making men commodities to be subjugated by. It put men in the categories of being human doings instead of being human beings. More or less human ATM machines. So we're going to prorate it based on, so they might say, well, she can lie. Well, fine, we'll get 3 comprehensive lie detector tests. You're going to take them damn tests. And if you fail them, then we're going to get rid of you. Because, see, that's why I say Obsidian, she only respects power and strength. She only respects power and strength. So we're going to prorate it. We're going to prorate, because what this is doing is a form of psychic abuse. It basically tells a man that he's nothing. In the clinical world, we call it the minimization. I call it the minimization of masculinity. You're basically minimizing the man, and you are objectifying that man based on how much money that he makes. But yet you don't have a modicum of what women had in the past. You're nowhere near as great as your grandmom and your great-grandmother and some of your mothers. Those women were virgins, many of them, or had only one partner, not one sex partner. They were wife ready, and they knew how to be wives.
And you can ask good questions. You can say, well, have you had a train ran on you? Yes, sir.
Right. Have you had a train ran on you? Right. We're gonna do a damn comprehensive lie detector test. You're gonna go do 3 polygraphers that are very experienced, because if you want my ring and you want my resource, you're gonna earn it. It's not gonna be given for free. But so long, so many men, their self-esteem is so low, Obsidian, that they just give them.
What if her dress size? What if her dress size is like 16? Do you deduct some points for that? I mean, what's the deal with that? Well, if she has a dress size of 16 and she's 5'4", do you deduct like 2, 3, or 4 points there? Or yeah. If that's what that man wanted, if he like heavy women, fine. But if he like women that are petite and in good shape, we're gonna start damn deducting numbers. Yeah, your SMV will start going down based on your dress size and all of that. Because see, if you can minimize men based on how much money they make, then damn it, men can minimize you based on our criteria. But see, once again, I'm saying it's a problem when men start having standards. That goes back to solipsism. Many modern women cannot see themselves, cannot see anything outside of their selfish self. That's why when they get married, they don't get married coming in seeing marriage as honor and duty. They get married based on them. That's why marriage is the biggest day for them, not for us.
And that's why many times, because they've had so much fun, when they get married, many times they don't make good wives because they already had fun. And you might be an average lover, but she got with Chorenzo, and Chorenzo made her toes curl. So you just an average lover, but she get bored with you, but she'll use you and keep you in the loop to take care of her own selfish needs, but she never really loved you. And so men gotta damn start setting standards and start saying, this is what I want in a relationship. If you don't meet my standards, then fine, you can go. You're free to go. Because I promise you, your money goes a lot further overseas. You can get you a feminine woman. You can get a woman from the countryside that's been raised right. And 9 times out of 10, she probably ain't been ran through. Especially if you don't get it from in residential areas, like where prostitutes are. So let your money go further, man.
I need to say this for the record. The brothers in my audience, and this came from a conversation I had with Kevin about, this was back in 2021. We actually sat down one day and he said, yo, man, you got to really understand your market. Do you know what your market demographic is? And I told him what the demographics was from YouTube. He said, no. I mean, where in the country do the men in your audience come from? How much do they make? What's their educational level, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, God damn it, I'm going to go back and do the research. So I went and did the research, found out, among other things, the black men who listen to this show make about 70 grand a year. They're just within spitting distance of that magic number of 75, ladies. There ain't no dusties in my audience. All that talk about some ladies, I'm not saying any ladies here, I'm saying just more generally. A lot of black women talk about dusty this, dusty that. You came to the wrong place, because brothers here make on average 70 grand, my listeners. Okay? So these are the brothers that can do the things that Kosher Clinician is talking about. If you don't want to get in line, they jumping on the first thing smoking to Santiago or whatever. Okay.
So Kosher Clinician is exactly right. Go ahead, brother.
Somebody wants to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Demetrius. I was gonna say about that 75,000. The thing with the 75,000 is how it looks as well. Because if you got 75,000, you gotta have a townhouse and an up-to-date car to go with it too. It can't just be 75,000 and you kind of live in modern. If you got 75,000+, you gotta also have all of the tangibles, the cars and a certain type of living to go along with it. It just can't be the 75,000, because I know a lot of brothers that make good money, but they live real low-key, regular lifestyle.
Oh yeah, black women like the high life, brother. They don't like a brother that's real frugal and drive a LTD. You know what I'm talking about? Drive a Grand Marquis. Oh no, they got to have a Mercedes. They got to have a Lexus. They got to have a Tesla. They got to have a Jaguar. They got to have that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the 75,000+ has to be attached to that also for it even to be a conversation. And I know what the sister said about, she was using the example of women overseas and the income situation. When Kevin Samuels talked about it all the time, over here, women money is messed up. Women are not making that 6 figures that they're talking about. So women need men, quote unquote. We can do without each other. I mean, we can make it, but if you're talking about long term, we need to start putting our finances together. Because when women lay out their tax return and their credit report and their debt to income ratio and all that, it looks bad towards the average man. So even women over here, I'm not saying they're like sisters overseas, but you take away, I put it to you like this, and I just ended what I'm saying right here. If you take credit away from the average American, their whole life is going to turn upside down. That's the difference between overseas and America. They don't have the same credit line that we have here in this country. Because if we didn't have credit, we couldn't buy houses, we couldn't buy cars, because we don't have the cash to do it. And over in the other countries, they don't have the cash. They can't get it. That's it.
So I want to piggyback on Brother Demetrius, right? So Brother Demetrius is exactly right. It's about what that 75,000 comes with. And like I was telling you, old man, it ain't about, does he make 75,000 or more? It's about how does he make that 75,000? They don't want men who make 75,000 and gotta go get dirty to make that or get sweaty to make that. They want a man who can go to work smelling good, sit in the office, have some good corporate white collar job, and come back home and get right in the bed with them. Like that's what they want. I got a cousin that is a true 6-figure bad bitch woman that was a executive for Verizon, and that is her issue. Oh well, it's a lot of men who like me, but she doesn't like the lifestyle, even though they may meet the financial requirement, right? And then to answer what you asked, Brother Obsidian, about so if 75,000 isn't enough, what is enough? Like I said, I'm a retired Navy, traveled the world. I've dealt with women who wanted to be submissive and be a dependent and all that stuff when I was in the Navy. And since I've got out the Navy, now that I'm a truck driver, I'm over the 6-figure line. I got a brother that's retired from the Navy too. He was an engineer. He's an engineer now in the oil field. This man clearly makes over 250. And I've seen women treat him like he was less than. Tall, select, nice looking guy, got his own stuff, multiple vehicles, multiple property,
So all
and
that
he's still
let me
not
go
enough.
next, Obsidian.
Oh, real quick, I got to jump off because I have a meeting. The one young lady who was speaking, I just want to make sure when we quantify that 75,000, what we're meaning by. Basically, we, like Mr. Obsidian said about the cost of the welfare state, but also understand what that represents larger into the context of income. Black women on the median income of a black woman is about 46,000. So a man who, let's just say a woman's over 30 and she makes $55,000 a year, he's outperforming her by 30%. For the idea that a woman looks at it, that a man who's outperforming her by 30% cannot come in and improve her life, that is a disconnect to reality. And so when you'll see guys start opting out, because at that point it's looked at that the juice is not worth the squeeze. And that's what that number really is representing at that point, is that I am outperforming the welfare state at a certain amount. I'm outperforming you at a certain amount, and I still cannot clear this bar. Well, what are my other options? It would be like me trying out for the basketball team and getting cut 2 or 3 years in a row, and then deciding, you know what, let me go try out for the swim team. And that's what guys are going to do. And that's what the passport bros, dating out, whatever it might be, that's what it is when it comes down to it.
Oh, thank you.
See,
I think I'm
this is where the 50-50 man comes from. I think this is what we're talking about, is where we get these 50-50 guys. I think they've done the math and they've seen it for what it is, and that's why they feel how they feel.
Right. So I learned something today. I appreciate you crunching those numbers. I will be probably using that number in some of my conversations about polygyny. So because I am pro polygyny and I at times advocate for it, but yeah, that's important to know. Look, all of you are right. You're on the right track. The modern westernized woman, not just American. We have women in the UK with the same mindset. Black women, it doesn't really matter about his money. There's something else going on there, So
hey, that's my dear Nepal. Nepal, I appreciate you, girl. You know exactly what you're talking about.
Thank you. I've been tried and true. I've been through. I mean, to be honest and serious, the state of relationships, Western relationships,
but Nepal,
across
what you just did is the exact thing why these men can't find a woman. You came in a man's life and fix it. That's what men should be seeking. A woman to come and be an addition to your life. Don't see, once you present your presence, a man's presence alone, a woman should already submit by his presence. If you have to demand and pay for it, you're meeting the wrong woman. It doesn't make sense. A woman is only going to submit to a man that has values and his principle with God and life, of course. But a woman will submit. It has nothing to do with money. And Nepal, by you just stating what you're stating, I didn't even have to mention this because I'm just going over what you just rehearsed. So I apologize. Let me wipe my big ass feet again. Get back in the crowd.
No, that's great. And this is something for women to listen to. At the end of the day, there has to be a point where I think Obsidian, if I'm not mistaken, I was halfway listening to your Clubhouse. I think I heard somebody say, high value women won't take part in polygyny. The reason I bring up polygyny is it's like a great way to check women, or for women to check their ego and to stay in line as far as the submission goes. When you know that don't have all the power, all the power, you know what I'm saying? All the control in the lower region. When you know that, then you tend to be more humble. You tend to be more submissive. You tend to check yourself if you're not submissive. Now, of course, relationships aren't only about sex, but I say at the foundation, it's about sex. Men want sex and peace. That's the package they want. And so I think polygyny is a great, if you can, look, I hear you guys saying you're the overseas bros or whatever. You can go to, I know there's the Latin American countries. Shout out to my family over there on the island of Hispaniola. But on the continent of Africa, shout out to our brother O'Shea Duke Jackson. We have the new show he's doing. We have women who you can live like a king and have beautiful wives who know if I get out of line, I'm hitting the street. I'm
hitting the bricks.
I'm getting my walking papers here.
He's hitting the bricks.
Yeah, and you don't have to hear, how dare you, because that's our Americanized minds, our westernized minds as women. Now, you may hear me on another platform talking about women's rights. See, people misunderstand when I'm sure people who've called me a feminist would change their tune when they hear me talking like this. There's a balance. But westernized women need to be put in check. And I love, so keep going overseas. Yes. Get the women are waking up. Keep going overseas, going women.
Explain to the
Yeah.
viewers. Explain to the viewers why a woman must be put in her place, quote unquote, checked.
Well, because the way women have been put in a position of power over men as a natural. Okay, I was raised in a household of my mom's submissive, polygyny. So it's imbalanced now where women, they understand, unfortunately, feminism has done more harm than good. I know possibly there was some good intentions maybe along the way. I know we hear about how it was a social plan to separate. But anyway, we're imbalanced. We think men are our subjects, but in reality, a man is a natural leader, a natural protector. Women, yes, we protect children, but we're under men. I'm sorry if that comes out wrong.
It sounds right to me. I love it when a woman's under me. It's 54 minutes past the hour, and you're listening to Obsidian Radio.
I gave that to you.
And one of the great things about it is when a woman's under me is that everything equals out. So if I'm shorter than she is and she's taller than me, it all equals out because she's under me and we're both horizontal. Okay, so we're talking about how modern men have a right to rate, RATE, modern women, and we transitioned over from that. We're still talking about that, but we transitioned over from that to this question. And I don't see my man Chris. He was here earlier. I had to take care of something off the air. My lady friend was listening in, and she had some very interesting observations. We'll get to that tomorrow. She's off all week, so we're going to go back to the podcasting. So stay tuned for that. Me and the lovely Miss Brown Sugar. She has some very interesting observations about this $75,000 question. But in any event, very interesting. So black women are saying, because I've been testing this out on Facebook too, black women are saying they're not going to submit to a brother that makes 75 grand a year. That's 13% of black men now. Not even 20%. It's less than 20% of black men make $75,000 or more a year. And they're saying they're not going to submit to that brother. And so now we're having the conversation about what do brothers who do make $75,000 or more a year should do. Listen, if black women can't submit to a brother for that, and he's in the top 13% of black men money earners, I don't know what other option there is but to put the passport in the sky. I don't know what other option there is.
It's a penis thing too. We don't really talk about that much, but every black man gotta have 9, 10, 11, 12 inches of penis. Also, to go along with that 75,000+. I know women don't like to talk about it because they don't want to hurt men's feelings, but that's another piece to it when you talk about dominating and controlling a woman.
Hey, but Obsidian, I also want to mention what you gotta ask is how many brothers making that much and are in a relationship or happy.
That's a fair question. I would say I would argue in present day Black America, based on my audience, there are brothers that are married in my audience. That's true. Pablo is one of them. The kosher clinician is one of them. But I would say that they are in the minority. Now, what would be the exact number? I would argue perhaps maybe 25%. I would say that the majority of the brothers here that make $70,000 or more in my audience, I would say about 30% of them are actively married right now. Now, I'm not talking about divorced or widowed or never been married like me, a confirmed bachelor. I'm talking about actively married right now. Got a wife right now. I would say maybe 25%, give or take, something like that. Yeah. Now, of that percentage of how many of them are in happy marriages, that's a good question. I don't know. But I would argue that the majority of the brothers here that make around 70 grand, give or take, I would argue that the majority of them are single. Now we could debate whether they're, confirmed bachelors, never married, or they were married and divorced, or they were married and widowed. That's another question. But I would say that the majority of the brothers here that make that kind of money, they definitely are single. The majority.
All right. So Pete, so hold on a second. I don't mean to hold you. So Pete, this I can.
Go right ahead, brother. You on air?
For you are in a relationship, wouldn't you think?
Say that again. Your mic went out. Say that again.
All right. You said it was a small numeral that's making that much that are happy. I would say there's a larger population of men making less than that are happy and that are in a current relationship.
Well, I mean, let the ladies see. There's a lot of cap in here, and this is what my lady friend was saying off the air. She said there's a lot of cap in here. She's going to explain why in the podcast tomorrow. She believes there's a lot of capping going on here. She believes that black women are saying one thing and doing something else, because she said ain't no sister in her right mind going to turn down a brother making 75 and up. That she ain't. I mean, all things being equal, of course. She's not going to turn that down. She got an opportunity to hop on that. This is what my lady friend believes. She believes that if a sister has an opportunity to hop on the brother making 75 or better, she going to take it.
Well, I believe that they do turn them down all the time.
Can I just
or the
say
passport
this?
bros would not exist.
This is the thing. It's not about turning down.
Hang on. One at a time. Let me get Pablo because he said something.
I'm gonna be heading out, so
okay.
She can go ahead.
Hang on.
Let her go ahead.
Let Miss Now go ahead because she got.
I really appreciate that, Pablo. I just want to clarify. I didn't say she would turn him down. She wouldn't turn him down. You said to submit. So
yeah.
I want to clarify.
What we're talking about, to submit. Black men want black women to defer to them and submit. And what is the price for black women's submission? If it ain't 75 grand, then what is it?
But you said and shout out to your lady friend. I want to clarify. If you said, she said, there's no way a woman would turn down a man that makes 75,000. Of course not. But submit to him. Show me a population of Black American women or Westernized women who are submitting to men who are making 75, or I can show you Black women who are with men who are making more than 75. In fact, let's use some shows like how about the Cosbys? You have the Cosby's.
Oh man, you looking at $250,000 and better there.
Thank you.
The wife is a high-powered lawyer in her own right, and the husband is an OBGYN at a pretty high level. I mean, you looking at $250,000 or better New York money.
Right. So let's do this. Hold on. So to a audience, which it was a hit show, to appeal to the general audience, we needed to always see Miss Huxtable rolling her neck, and I don't think so. I don't bring coffee. And let me tell you something, Cliff. And Cliff's scared of her. He's sneaking around the house. So that's the way it is in America. Wow. So yeah, she won't turn him down. Nobody's going to turn down a successful man. But submit like a man deserves to be submitted to.
Well, what does a man deserve? Well, how about this? I know you got to run, but I got to ask. Okay, God damn it. What does a brother deserve?
This is my marriage. This is my marriage. Let me tell you something.
75 don't get him to submission. That ain't good enough. Well, God damn it. What does a brother have to do to deserve submission then? I gotta ask.
Well, no, let me say this in my closing. This is what submission is. You ask your husband if he's okay if you go do things. You ask him, is it okay if I go out to have lunch with my friends? And he knows that you're going out. You don't have to ask him, oh, baby, you know, this is the day I go out with my friends. Do you need anything? Are you okay if I go? No, the modern woman be like, I don't have to ask him. I'll do it myself. So that's not something that the Americanized or the Westernized woman would do. You ask your husband what he'd like for dinner. I've heard many women say, well, he's gonna eat it. When I say, well, doesn't your husband not like spaghetti? Doesn't your husband not like spaghetti? Well, if he don't like it, he can make himself something else, or he can stop and get something. That's the average American woman who's with men who are making 75 or more. Wow. So yeah, they'll get with them, but they won't. So with that, I love this podcast. I want to come back.
We definitely got to have you back. We got to have you back again. This is going to be great. So, Sean, Denise, we definitely got to have you on the show. We got to work. We got to work this out. But
you know how it is, Obsidian. I'm going to still listen, Pablo. Thank you for letting me cut in, everyone. And peace to the sister. All right. I'll be listening.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Pablo. Go right ahead.
I actually conducted a poll of the Passport Bros in several groups, Black male travel groups, and on my own page. Let me read you some of the results. One of the questions I asked was, for those who travel internationally 3 to 4 times per year at a minimum, what is your income level? 0 to 25,000 was 5%. 26,000 to 35,000 was 5%. 36,000 to 45,000 was 8%. 46,000 to 55,000 per year was 11%. Right. And 56,000 to 100,000 plus and above was 71%. So 71% of the Passport Bros make between 56,000 and over 100.
Gotcha.
So her assessment is true. Will these guys who make 75, 80, even 100, will they find women to deal with? Yes. Will they find submissive women that are easy to get along with, women that are cooperative? No, because it's baked into the culture.
Wow.
It's baked into the culture that they not be. It would be unusual to find the opposite.
Wow. This is insane. You mean to tell me that a brother that is in the top 13, I can't wait till we do this podcast tomorrow with Miss Brown Sugar. You mean to tell me that a brother's in the top 13% of Black men in the country can't get submission from a Black woman?
Well, here's the other thing. Black women like flashy things. Black American women in particular.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
So and flashy titles are included in that. So do you know how many truck drivers make between, I don't know, 70K and 120? like a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. There are many. That's the reason why I do the morning show, because it's a shout out to my brothers on the road. They love the morning show. They like listening in to their own version of talk radio. So I shout out to my trucker Blue Henry brothers out there, my HVAC brothers out there, all my Blue Henry brothers on the job site. They getting it in every day, and they making damn good money. I know, because I was one of them.
Do you know
truck drivers? What black woman wants to go and tell her friends she's married to a truck driver? They don't want to.
do you know the percentage of Black women whose values includes submission?
That's a good question. That's a damn good question.
You're looking at about 2%.
Wow.
2%, because what comes with submission is more of a more traditional value, right? And a majority of Black women don't have that value set. It's not in them. Majority of Black women aren't even, they'll value being mothers over being wives. So when men are looking at submission and focus on the submission conversation, you need to understand what those numbers look like. That's about approximately 2% of the female population within the Black community.
Wow. I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, like I said, we did the numbers. Shout out to my man Chris Hutchinson. We crunched the numbers. Shout out to Black Gnostic Speaks, BGS Itmore. We crunched the numbers. Once again, the Black manosphere is the sharp end of the spear here. We say, okay, Black women don't want to submit to a brother. By the way, Omawali Africa, Omawali the Waffler, we got him. I'm going to get him this week. He misrepresented the Black manosphere, misrepresented our good friend and brother Kevin Samuels yet again. He's talking about sisters need to be submitting to a brother of 35 grand. No brother here has ever said anything like that. We certainly don't believe in that. We said, okay, sisters don't want to submit to a brother 42 grand a year. Okay, we got it. We came up with a number. That number is 75. Black women still don't want to submit to that. I'm done. Done.
I was gonna say I was on Clubhouse one time and I had told the sister, if you came with $75,000 cash in a duffel bag and I gave it to you, is that a lot of money? And she said, yeah, actually that is. And I said, that's how you got to look at it. It's not a lump sum, it's over a year, but it's still 75,000. And it's still enough money to add to the pot or whatever you have coming in where we could build something. And that's where I'm not really understanding why sisters are not getting that $75,000 a year is good damn money. When you, especially if we talking about putting it together and building something. And you got the brothers on the road that's doing the trucking thing. You know, another thing with that, you know, sisters don't even want to hop in the truck with you and go on those road trips. And I know it's like, well, I got to work too, but I hate to throw this out there, but you see the white boys doing it all the time. And they're white woman to get up there and they hit that road. But what the irony of that is, I see these sisters. I mean, this is kind of going left a little bit, but I hope you can follow me. I don't know if y'all into the van life thing, but I see sisters doing the van life thing by themselves, but they'll do it. But the only time they'll pair up with somebody doing the van life is with a white dude. I rarely see Black couples doing the van life thing, but I see a Black woman doing it with a white. Or I see it doing it, or I see
so you're telling me that the sister will build a boo for Brad.
Absolutely.
She ain't trying to build a boo for Brian. She ain't trying to do it for Black.
Nah, a van life. And I know you're familiar with that. We talking about a little team van. And can you imagine? Yeah, sister, you know, I was thinking, you know, we get this van, we can save some money. I ain't living in no van. What?
Right.
What? A van? What?
But you also have to look at the type of woman. Like this conversation about 75,000 versus the state. Majority of these women who benefit from welfare, Section 8, food stamps, Medicaid, Pell Grants, majority of those were actually, majority of those women, if not all, do not have access to men making more than what they're receiving or what they themselves are making. And I think that's the bigger problem. I think when they watch their love and hip hop shows, the Real Housewives of Atlanta shows, they're not really thinking of dollar signs. They're just thinking of lifestyle. They want to be able, for whatever reason, they want to be able to get a Birkin. Although, even if you do have all that money, you may not be able to get a Birkin because Hermes is very exclusive and you're on the waiting list. So unless you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, you're not likely to get a Birkin. Okay, but they want the red bottoms. They want the Socates. They want the Louis Vuitton bag. They want
They're still rocking the Jimmy Choos. They still rocking the Manolos.
But they want all of that. They want to have a closet full of that stuff, although there's pretty good knockoffs that they can get. But they want to be able to. There's good replicas out here. I see all the time that when a person is dressed from head to toe in the hood and all of that designer, that is not real. There is no way you have $10,000 to spend on one outfit and then you wearing this every single day. No, but just get a good hookup and you can get a few replicas. But they want that life. They want to be able to stunt on their friends. They want to be able to stunt on the IG, on social media. They think they're deserving of it. So when they think of when men say no, you have to look at as far as a dollar sign, and they think that $75,000 plus can get them that lifestyle because that's what they really want. They want that glamorous, luxurious. They want to be able to travel. They want to go to Cancun. I guess now the thing is Tulum. They want to be able to go to Jamaica. They want to be able to go to the DR and just chill and then pop up on IG and Facebook and say, see what my man has done for me. Why? Because they're seeing it on social media. So they want the lifestyle.
But how are they affording this lifestyle by themselves?
They're not.
Okay.
These women barely have any money. You have two groups of women who think like this, two groups of modern women, because traditional women with traditional values don't think like this. Because submission is not about his income. Submission is about marriage. You get my cost of submission is you put a ring on my finger, making you your missus. And
well, now let me interject if I may. I disagree that they're not making these trips. We just saw a case with Shanquilla Robinson of some scarce broke strags making their way on an international trip. And, they managed to do it. And I just came back from Dominican Republic and I saw a bunch of Black American women traveling in packs, squadding up in rooms, and going on these trips.
Okay.
Where they're splitting the rooms.
Exactly.
They're beg borrowing, stealing on credit cards and going in. They're doing every manner of thing you can think of to take these trips and go and stunt on IG. I just left them doing it.
Okay, but the point that I'm making is that these women, to your point, they can only get that with teaming up with other women. They don't have access to the men who's actually going to give that to them. That's why you're having all the complaints. That's why you're having all the pushback. That's why you're having the conversations where they're trying to humble. They don't have access. Even women who are at that level. I wouldn't exist in business. I wouldn't have my coaching business. And one of the biggest things, and I also did a poll on this, is the biggest complaint is proximity. They don't know where to find these men. They don't have access. They are not putting themselves in the right places. The men aren't attracted to them, so they're not approaching them. So
now, that's a really good point, and I wish that we could get some ladies up in here to talk about this, because that's a really good point about where to find the men. And we talked about this on your Clubhouse, and we'll have future conversations about this. But one of the things for me is this: if you so here's where I'm at with it. So I'm a top 20% guy, right? I'm in the top 13 or less percent of guys right now, right? I ain't top 5 yet, but I'm working on it. Okay. So my thinking is this. And Miss Brown Sugar has been very good to me because she is I don't know if she would consider herself this, but I would consider her a submissive woman. She gets on my program. She really works hard to be on my program. Okay. The thing that's really attractive about that to me, and I think I speak for the brothers on this, if the sister is willing to put in the work, if she's willing to get on the program, if she's down for that, That's one thing. I can rock with that. But these sisters telling us that even though you make 75K and up, you can get her, but she ain't gonna submit. Where did they do that at?
Well, that's because you have these pander bears, these simps out here who make money. I see it all the time. I hear from them all the time, especially on Clubhouse, where they like that behavior. They encourage the women in this behavior. And they'll tell these women that if any man tries to change you, if any man who tries to talk about submission, he's not a real man, you don't need him. I'm not going to do that to a woman, and I have money. So the problem, yes, women are entitled, right? Women are delusional, but there is some accountability that can be said on the part of men. I had to have this conversation with a man the other day. This man is making $250,000 a year, graduated from at the top, near the top of his class at Yale. He's 30 years old, over 6 feet tall, good looking. And he said, look, I don't care what she does. If she's a stripper and I want to take her out, I'm going to take her out. If she's a 304, I'm going to take her out. If I want to go out, I'm going to go out. I'm like, oh my God. But you are part of the problem in why these women are behaving this way, because they have,
and this is the first time I've ever said anything like that before, but he needs his ass beat.
Right. They have access to you, and because they have access to you, and they don't even really want you. That's why
I am not considering. I mean, no disrespect to the. And listen, I love sluts and whores and slurs. I am not considering a woman like that if I'm bringing in that, and I ain't there yet. I ain't at over 200K yet. I'm working on it. But God damn it, I am not considering any broads like that if I'm making over 200K. You can forget it. Forget it. Forget it.
Well, Obsidian, this is the reason why I said it might be important for you to have LAR movement on to discuss that video I shared of his with you. I did email it to you. And that is this. There is a not so small group of black men and black women who do not want the cultural condition of black America to change because they, A, cannot function outside of it, or B, they are afraid of losing their position that they currently hold within it. They want certain aspects of the dysfunctional culture to continue because it is all that they know.
Oh my goodness, this is insane. Matter of fact, yeah, we got to continue this conversation because this is insane. This is, if we come up with the formula to solve it. See, this is the problem that the modern black, I call it the sassy modern black woman. This is the problem that the sassy modern black woman's got to deal with. If you come up with saying, okay, we don't want to submit to this man for that kind of money and so on and so forth. Okay, and if the brothers come up with a formula that beats what you can get from Uncle Sam, okay, and you still talking greasy, no wonder brothers are going to Africa. I played the Pan-African show. No wonder brothers are going to Uganda.
Okay, but what you guys are also not understanding, and I see this, is that a lot of these women know that they're not good enough for these men. Although, one thing about men, sometimes I'm like, you looking on the outside, but you don't see how jacked up she is on the inside. Her conversations, the way she behaves, I can clearly tell, like, you don't want to go that route, but because she has a pretty face and a nice body, you're like, she'll make a good wife. But no, she's signaling to you. She knows. A lot of these women know they're not good enough for these men that they're trying to reject, but they're not going to come out and say, no, I don't think I'm good enough. So no, they'll just try to humble you and make you feel like, make it seem as if you're not good enough for her, when in reality, I've put women in front of millionaires and watch them say no and try to reject millionaires.
Right.
And I was scratching my head. I was confounded. This is a millionaire. You're looking at all these little minute things that could be changed. Oh, Letitia, he showed up on an introduction. His shirt was wrinkled. I'm like, okay, who cares? He showed up. He wasn't my physical type. Who cares? He's a millionaire. Like, there's a lot of things that can be fixed. These women, when I got down to the nitty gritty of it, a lot of these women know that they're not good enough to be at that level. They're just not. They
So,
can't.
okay. So you're saying I'm gonna add this to the pot when I do the podcast with Miss Brown Sugar tomorrow. We're gonna start recording our podcast for season 2. So you're saying on the one side, this is what Miss Brown Sugar is saying. Miss Brown Sugar is saying this is all cap. Brothers coming through and say, okay, you got brothers that are verified. They verified 75K and up. And y'all sisters saying y'all ain't gonna submit. That's cap. That's what she's saying. And she's gonna lay it out tomorrow. You're saying, Miss Letitia, that a lot of these sisters, whether they capping or not, it don't matter because they don't qualify for them no way. That's what you say.
Absolutely, they don't. They do not qualify.
Okay. I want to go to my man Sage. My man Sage Lee in the building. Lee, Sage Talk Lee. What's going on, brother? Long time no hear. My fellow archer in arms. What's going on, man?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How's the panel doing?
Doing great, man.
What's going on, brother?
Doing great, and glad that you're doing great over at Lapeef, man. You're doing a wonderful job.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Great conversation. I'm enjoyed listening to it. I wish I would have got a chance to get in earlier to catch the beginning, but I'll go back and check that on the replay. But I'm listening to this conversation, and I think I would say I have somewhat of a contrary point of view with regard to the submission piece. And where I'm coming from with regard to submission is that if there's a dollar value necessary for a woman to be submissive, she's not submissive. Right. Because I've traveled to several different countries and I've met women from different places. A woman wants obviously to have a good quality life. And if you're going to build a relationship and maybe a family for marriage and so forth, you have to be able to support and take care of the woman and the children that she will bear for you as a man. But the woman have to have a submissive quality about her, which really is about an agreeable helpfulness about her as part of her nature. And that should not be triggered by a dollar amount. That should be something that was in her from she was a young girl, when she was growing up in her home, in the community where she comes from, with her brothers, her cousins, friends that she knew and she grew up with. I mean, for example, I remember when I first came to Honduras and I was traveling to Guatemala by road, and I got on the bus, and I've always used to have like a small briefcase, a portfolio that I carry with me where I put my most important stuff, because, you put your luggage in the back of the bus or on top of the bus, wherever. So I like to have my personal documents with me. So I'm standing on the bus and the bus got crowded. So it was, people was like, like a New York bus or a train where you just shoulder to shoulder. And this young lady was sitting, right where I was standing. And she just reached and took my briefcase out of my hand, laid it in her lap. And I looked at her and she just told me, it's okay, it's okay. And she held my bag because, with two hands free, I can switch hands as one hand gets tired as I'm holding on. And it was like an hour and a half, close to 2-hour ride to get to the border. And that is just a part of the nature that you will find with women that are submissive. They will just help you because, period. That had nothing to do with a relationship. That had nothing to do with me pushing up. It's just she saw a man. Yeah. She looked at the situation. It was jam-packed, crowded, and she thought if I take this bag out of his hands would be free so he can hold on properly. Yeah. And that's a helpful nature. And that's not something that you can teach a 25 or 30-year-old woman because you make $100,000 or $1 million.
Right. And it's interesting. I don't know if you heard it last week. I had a conversation with Sansaray Monique, and we were kind of going back and forth. We kind of actually, that's what ended the conversation was, it was about conditional femininity. Her argument was that black women are changing. And of course we know that the modern sassy, modern black woman, they're changing and they don't have to adhere to the old, paradigm of femininity. That now they're able to pick and choose. And I said, damn that first of all, you're not going to talk over me. And second of all, I run this here. I'm the undisputed Lord and Master House Obsidian. And third, damn that conditional femininity crap. If black women expect black men to be men all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day until they're dead, then we expect black women to be feminine all the time. not sometime, not based on, if I feel like it, and all this nonsense.
This is the gaslighting that is happening because these women, as much as they say they don't want to be chosen, they want to be chosen, right? As much as they call other women pick-me's, but now they're starting to adopt and act like pick-me's themselves. They know and understand that men are saying, I want softness. They have listened to you guys and watched you guys get excited over the women with softer tones. But the truth comes out in when there's a contentious disagreement in their behavior, their true nature comes out. But now they're trying to say, well, no, there's different aspects of femininity. No, there isn't. You are either feminine or you're not. You're operating.
That's exactly what she said too. She said different aspects of feminine. What the hell does that mean? If I came in here and said there's different aspects of masculinity, no black woman in her right mind would accept that, and rightly so. Rightly so.
Because they want to be chosen. And so it's like if I put on this soft voice, right? If I put on this soft voice, if I put on this dress, then I can have this aspect of femininity that the men want, but I need to convince him that the rest of me is okay too, that he needs to accept the rest of me. When no, it's femininity isn't the outside, it's not the voice, it's who you are on the inside, the values, morals, and principles that you have. And then it exudes outward. And when it exudes outward, that's how you tend to end up with a more softer tone in your voice. That's how you tend to dress a certain way because you want the outside to match the inside. But a lot of these women, they just want to be picked. They want to be chosen. They don't want to admit that that's what it's really about, and they can't carry. They can't pull it off. They're just not feminine, but they want men to. They don't want men to be. They don't want to be called masculine. They don't want to be labeled as masculine. So they're trying to say, well, there's different aspects to it so that they can fit in somewhere.
Well, if I may add something
Yeah,
to
go
what
ahead, Lee, you got it.
Obsidian had said a few minutes ago, that the videos that are going around with the young lady, Shankia Robinson, that get killed in Mexico, Lord rest her soul. What we saw in those videos were men who are of the idea with conditional protection. Because every man that saw those videos just couldn't understand why men who were there did not step in and say, okay, she's not defending herself, she's not fighting, this is not going to go anywhere, stop. Any man that's a man would have stepped in to protect that young lady.
Right.
The reason why you're seeing men who are not displaying masculinity all the time is because now men are saying masculinity is also conditional. Like there was a interview, and I think maybe you did the interview, I think, Obsidian, with that gamer, or you may have reviewed it.
Yeah.
The gamer, and I'm not sure if it was Andrew Tate that they were in a conversation about. And Andrew Tate posed the question to him that if he and his woman is upstairs in bed and there's a noise downstairs in the middle of the night, who goes down? He literally say, she goes down. It's either one of us. It was optional. So I think women have to really understand the dynamics that they're setting the template for going forward is going to really put them at a higher risk, because women are the vulnerable part of the species in terms of humans. They're more vulnerable than we are vulnerable, even though we die more. As men's psyches tend to change over the time, that conditional femininity will also become conditional protection, conditional masculinity. And I think women will not like that in the next 30, 40 years, how that will develop. So I think sometimes, you ask for things, but you don't look at the long-term consequence of what that could be society-wide, because there can't be enough police, unless you want a police state, there can't be enough police to protect you at all times. And there's always going to be a situation where there are other men around, and a woman or a young girl that may be in a situation where she needs somebody to just step in and stop the violence or the possibility of something escalating into a serious threat. And if men are starting to capitulate and now reasoning within their own selves that, you know what, I don't have to put my life at risk for any woman because most women are not feminine anyway.
Yeah. Well, this is what happens when we have a situation in Black American society where the rank and file Black woman has the attitude that I'm strong, independent, don't need no man. I ain't submitting to no man, no matter what they do, and so on and so on. You know, Black men ain't sugar, honey, iced tea, Dusty, and all the rest, 3-4 trash bag, Dusty, and all that sort of thing. All of this accumulates over the years to where, God forbid, a sister is out there getting the brakes beat off her, and brothers are standing around talking about world star, you know.
Exactly.
Okay, but the men on the are gay, right? They're effeminate gays. So could we really expect for them to step in and really act? I'm not saying they're not men, but can a woman really depend on that masculine frame from effeminate gay males?
Well, I can't speak to that because I really don't know how a gay man rationalize. But what I would say is that, you know, for the past 20, 30 years or so, a lot of young boys who are in their mid 20s going into 30s now, they were born around the late 80s, 89 to 90 and so on. They were basically raised with the philosophy that men and women are equal. And, you know, there is no such thing as someone being better or stronger. You know, showing up equals participation, whether you win or lose. You know, because a year or two ago, there was a big article where many CEOs were having problems with the new Gen Z employees because they don't have no competitive spirit about that. They believe that everyone get paid the same for the same work. And in business, competition is how you succeed, thrive, and survive and win. And they were investing a lot of money in trying to retrain a lot of their young employees, particularly the men or the boys, to instilling them a more competitive edge so they can have a better team of workers that can produce. And I think we're now going into a space where men are not competitive. They think just for showing up, you get a prize. There's no difference between the guy that come in first, second, and third and the guy that comes in last. That the guy that comes in last can get a trophy just like the guy that comes in first. And I think those type of psychological way of looking at life is going to have some very dangerous effects over the next few decades. Because when men are not able to assess a situation and see what's potentially is ahead and take steps to either advance it or retard it, women can't see those things at all. Women just don't think that way. So that means situations are just going to occur in your presence. And then you're going to have to deal with it right there and then. And most men will not have the mental capacity, and in some cases, the physical capacity to even deal with certain type of issues, whether it's a physical compensation or other types of dilemma or problems that needs to be solved.
Yeah.
Men just don't seem to have the problem-solving skills that we once did. And
Wow.
you know, I say this because the other day I was on a conference call earlier. Was it this week? Last week. And there was a young man on there. I would assume he's probably between 28 and his early 30s, somewhere about. And we were talking about the words. We got to a point where we were talking about the word success. And I was using it in the term of success, meaning to achieve and to get recognition from others, right? Or some form of compensation for the success. So he went into the definition of success, which had to do with a person setting a goal for themselves, achieving that goal, thereby he can tell himself, I've succeeded. So I said, you know what, let's look up the word. And I pulled up the definition on dictionary.com, did a screen share. And the first definition was about one's personal goal, where You make the evaluation to your achievement and your success as you have stated the goal. But the other three definitions, which there were four, were dealing with third-party verification of your success, such as honors, such as position, and compensation. Those things you get by other people recognizing that you have achieved, whether it's you're an MVP, whether you go from being an operations director to a vice president. Those things are verifiable by the public, by other people recognizing that you have reached an achievement where success is determined. And it's ironic because he could not tell the difference. And because I said the first definition was a personal success, to do with the public. That's something that you set as a goal for yourself, and you set the terms of what achieving means. And then once you have reached that, then you could say you succeeded because you did what you said you were going to do. But no outside person can verify that. And the thing is, in the definition, it used the word once, O-N-E apostrophe S. And I tried to explain to them that once means individual, you, your, personal, one unit. He couldn't get that. I'm like, and this is a grown man. I'm like, dude, don't you know the definition of words? And I think where I've seen so many women get into the idea of my truth, those type of terminologies, setting the meaning of things that apply only to you, but to the outside world doesn't really matter or is not reflective, is dangerous. And now I'm seeing it with men applying that same type of logic in coming to decisions and conclusions where I'm like, guy, their context, when you look at a word, it has contextual meaning. That's why you have multiple definition, because the word can be used in different ways on how what you're talking about. And his whole thing was that he sets the definition to what is wealth. He sets the definition to what is success. And he went on this long rant. And I said, no, that's not true. I said, there's some things that there's a bar that must be achieved for it to be recognizable that this is an achievement and a success. The things that you can set the bar for yourself, you can set personal goals for your own achievement. And some of them could be for economical success as well. But wealth, being rich and being wealthy is two different things. And those are two different metrics. People who are rich can go broke. People who are wealthy very rarely, if ever, can go broke. So, I was talking to him and he just didn't get the understanding. And I'm like, this old man, roughly, and he doesn't even need a definition and know that the word one's means personal, your own. And I had like a 30-minute conversation. First, I thought he was trolling me and he was just being like, yanking my chain. But then as he continued, I realized that he was very serious. And I think that, in this space of where, Black manosphere and whatnot, I think it's how can I say? There are many men who are female-minded as much as they're women. I'll leave it there.
I totally agree. Excellent expose, Sage. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna pop off. I gotta go see clients, man. But it's been an excellent conversation. But I'll say this, Obsidian. When women use that crazy metric about making a certain amount of money, there was a time when men and women used what was called group economics. They worked together as a group and they built wealth. And so, women now expect men to come to the table already established and having all the accoutrements of success. But there was a time when men and women worked together, if they got married young, and they built foundational wealth for the family and the children years ago. And those women also were wife ready, didn't have kids many times, and they were cooperative. But it's just a sign of a very decadent culture that we have. It's the minimization of masculinity, telling men that they're not good enough. And it's problematic, to say the least, because many are not speaking out against it. And I think what it is an affront to the not only psycho development of a man, but also to his self-esteem. And that's why these conversations are so neat. So Been a great conversation, man. Shout out to the panel. And I'm saying also the young lady, what's her name? Your guest. I would love to, chop it up with her. So at some point, I'll reach out to you, brother. Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah, I think he's handling something.
Oh, okay.
Go
Go ahead
ahead.
if someone wants to go ahead and speak.
I'll speak. I have a friend of mine. When they said that the 75,000 mark is like should be for if black women want to submit. I have a friend of mine who's in the 7 figures when he was married, and she left him. She divorced his wife. Divorced him. She got at least she got the house, and she got maybe like $100,000-$250,000. And when my friend got his trucking deal, as far as like his contracts, now she wants him to come back, but he was like, listen, you chose to leave, you chose to divorce me, even though I'm building the business for us, for us and our future. You chose that you wanted to get divorced, you wanted to go.
So you guys are saying that all too often, and guys, it's been an awesome stream. Thank you for tuning in. But the more things change, the more they remain the same. Some of you guys know and realize that Jason David Frank was a victim of self-deletion. And I did a show yesterday talking about why men should love within reason, but never love her more than you love yourself. We got a lot to be thankful for today, guys. So many men didn't make it. Some crossed over due to pain and trauma. But this show more or less highlights the narcissistic traits that some have. And on top of that, the women that are doing the right things, many times they're met with vitriol and called all types of names. But guys, share the stream. Shout out to Obsidian. And shout out to the panel, Letitia Underwood, the young therapist as well. And guys, it's been a pleasure. So look forward to more content coming up soon. And guys, if you're dealing with mental health crisis, you need to come see me at coachclinician@gmail.com. But in the meantime, let me feed this robot, and we will be signing off in a minute. Be well. Hit that like button. Go ahead. Do it now before I reach out into that screen and twist your hand like Aunt Esther. Hit the like button. Thank you. Destroy. All right, guys, we signing off, and take care of yourself. Until then.
4 in the morning, you got me up all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now.